At this time, let's call the South County EMS Board of Oversight to order at 6:05. First order of business, Josh?
Good evening, everybody. So tonight we have a combined meeting of the South County EMS Board of Oversight and the Select Board for the Town Executive.
I should probably open that one too.
So make a motion, I'll open this Deerfield Select Board of Health Sewer Commissioner meeting for July 15th at 6:05.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Trevor. All right, so first things first, does everybody have an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting? If so, is there a motion to approve or amend?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Second.
In favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, from old business, we have a bit of a busy schedule tonight. I'd like to start out, if possible, by presenting a end of fiscal year 25 report, which is kind of my perspective on how we've done over the fiscal year. I'm going to try and screen share here. You'll have to bear with me.
I think I'm
Share.
good. Can you share okay or
Screen.
multiple? Oh. Oh, there you go. Is that working? Yep. Good. Great.
All right, and there we go. That's fantastic. All right, so we had a really good year, which is fantastic. Kind of the highlights of the year. So we exceeded our projections by $42,896. However, we did far better than that. We have $250,000 to retained earnings from the budget, which left us an ending balance of just over $128,000. So that's a lot of revenue, more than we expected. That leaves us with roughly $400,000 that we can use towards capital purchases above everything. So we have a very healthy performance this year. On top of that, we were able to lower the tax assessment for fiscal year 26 by 6.6%. And we attribute all of that to a greater call volume. So financially, we're very healthy. Things are in good shape. We need less money from the community over the next year because we're able to put that money back into the service, and things are going well. As far as operations are concerned, our call volume increased to 1,803 calls. That's a substantial increase from the previous year. 1,256 of those were transports. So that's a 20% increase over fiscal year 24. So that's really outstanding news, depending on your perspective. And what's nice about all of that is, and I don't have end of fiscal year numbers yet, so I do have some numbers for the end of the third quarter. The Board of Oversight has seen these numbers before, so they'll be familiar with them. But it is worth mentioning that that trend hasn't exploded over the last quarter, so we're in a very good position. We're not giving away more calls. This year we hired 5 new per diem employees. They've all been trained, they're all working, doing well. It's a great group of folks. Some things we've done in the community, we've done a handful of collaborations with the South County Senior Center, which has been really good. We've had a handful of meetings at local library in Sunderland, at the senior center itself, just doing a number of things about community safety, getting to know your ambulance, questions about EMS and the emergency response system. I hosted one where we talked extensively about ambulance billing because people have questions about that. And so they want to know, what is this? How am I getting a bill, right? So we have really good discussions, and that was really productive, and we look forward to more of those. I did a handful of CPR classes for the community this year, which was really great. I offer those at cost when we're talking about the community, because this is information I want to get out there. I'm not looking to undercut any professionals who do this through, corporate training and professional licensure and things like that. But when it just comes to the community at large, I feel very strongly that this is knowledge I want the world to have. So if there is no cost and they're not looking for certifications, I don't charge at all. That's just online time. It doesn't cost our agency any money at all. If they want certifications, I charge them the cost of that, and I donate my time. So that's been very well received. I'm really pleased with that. And then we've started the car seat program, 100% completed by Zach Stone, who has done wonderful work. And we're very grateful for the effort he's put in. And that's been a really good resource for the community. I brought this up in some past presentations, but just as we revisit the year, it's worth remembering we are the only licensed car seat installers in the area. So that's awesome.
Chief, back to details for 1 second.
Mhm.
We kind of instituted that policy, kind of like the police and fire have. Have you had any people balk at that with the ambulance service? Not paying the fees, et cetera?
No, it's been very well received.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, we do a fair amount of details at Treehouse Brewing. We've got a detail there tonight. Dinosaur Jr. I don't know who that is, but so.
I'm being told they're loud. Yeah.
Well, they will hear them. So, I think they have concerns when I want to staff additional people because of the anticipated crowd being at capacity, or when I'm expecting a somewhat raucous group because of playing or such. But in the end, there's been no real conflict there.
Right, that's good, because I think it shows that, and I think it's better for the guys also, they're really good recruits.
It's good, yeah. I mean, so they have limited overtime possibilities, although not lately, sorry to say. But it's a nice way for them to earn some extra money in their area of expertise that does not come out of our payroll line item, which is outstanding.
Thank you.
So we've had really good luck with that. We've, this year for training and education weeks, started using a new online learning management system, which has met its objective in getting required trainings completed, and it's a really good program. It's one piece of the training and education component that I would like to build on more and more. Trevor?
What is LMS?
Learning management.
Learning management system.
Yeah.
And then, do you think you'll do a car seat program again this coming year?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that won't go away. That's going to be an ongoing thing, as long as Zach is around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You hear me, Zach? All right. There are some areas for improvement that we have recognized this year. One is vehicle preventative maintenance. Again, Zach and I are working very closely on this. The idea here is, over the last several years, I don't know if ever, there's been a very detailed tracking of how much money is spent, what service has been performed, what is the upcoming preventative maintenance and service that needs to be done. It's always been this piecemeal approach. And a very standard thing for me to hear in my day is, oh, hey chief, there's a dash light on in this ambulance, and oh, by the way, it's 2,000 miles overdue for its whatever change. It's like, oh, great, thanks a lot. So the goal here is to really get ahead of these things and see how that impacts what we spend on vehicle repairs. But even more important than the money to me is keeping the vehicles in service, because it is almost a daily battle keeping these trucks on the road. We had one go out of service today. And it was a quick fix. Ford of Northampton was amazing. They even drove it back to us. It was great. But I'd like that to improve. Another area for improvement is simulation training. We just don't have the equipment for it, so I'll bring that up as new business near the end. And then our schedule is a constant work in progress. Unfortunately, just with our staffing model and our employee count, anytime there's more than 2 people out, it becomes really difficult to staff. A couple months ago, I put forth a emergency staffing directive, which basically said we can hold you over or we can mandate you to come in early if it's absolutely necessary for maintaining the operation so that we don't go down. We have been really lucky in that we haven't had to do that. So I always try to offer that out to per diems first, to full-timers as overtime next. If I'm able to do it, I will do it. Most of the time I am, and I've done no small number of ambulance shifts to fill those gaps lately. And we've been lucky. We've had maybe a couple instances where we've had to get somebody to stay an extra couple of hours, and it hasn't been too bad. So that can be definitely cleaned up. It was pushed out. I won't say hastily, it was very thoughtful, but it was there to avoid catastrophe. So,
Chief, do you have fatigue standards?
do I have what?
Fatigue standards?
Yeah, currently we have a standard that we won't schedule anybody to work over 24 hours, which is our regular shift. And then with this emergency directive, I said I won't hold anybody over 4 hours if they're on 24. So that standard exists. I don't think it's good enough. Personally, I don't like to see anybody working over 12 hours. But we'd be talking a lot of hiring if we were to adapt to that model. So that's where we're at. So those are kind of the big ones. Here we go. So here's the balances, and you all have in your packets, this is just taken right from there, the summary revenue and expense report. I don't really see the need to go line by line over things, but if you have questions about any specific line items, of course I'm more than happy to address them. We did overspend a couple of line items, and I'm happy to respond to those. These numbers, again, these ending balances are somewhat fluid. We're still waiting on things to post. We're still waiting on bills to come in as they trickle in from the previous year. So they're a bit fluid, but this is what we're at as of this report being run today. So subject to change over the next month or so. Any questions about this?
I guess the FEMA cardiac grant.
Yep, so this was a grant that, this was for the purchase of stretchers and, $62,000. That was the
Cardiac monitor.
cardiac, no, that was the year before. This was the stretchers. So there is a balance initially with the AFG grant. I was notified that any balances that were unused were no longer available. And that was happening nationwide, with
Yeah.
immigrants.
Right.
We've since been told that, oh no, that money is available. The problem is that there is some matching. So for this 59,000 spent, we had to pay a large amount of money out of our own budget. So I've been a little loath to spend that remaining 24.
Right.
Until I had a better picture of what the end of year finances would be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so now we're in a very good position, and we can use that on all kinds of stuff. It's not a huge amount of money, but it could
Get
be,
little supplies.
yeah, it could be useful for certain things.
Okay.
Moving on. The billing reconciliation sheet is also on the stapled section. It's the last part of that packet. That's just there to kind of give you a month-by-month review. It's not necessarily granular, and again, this is subject to change. There's close to $90,000 that hasn't posted yet for the June revenue cycle. So again, this is incomplete, but this is what we're looking on from a more or less month-by-month. And this is for ambulance service revenue. So this doesn't take into account town assessments, grant funding, CBE, anything like that. This is just billing.
To the billing for the service, whether it's paid by Comstar or paid by the client.
So this is going to be, I was actually hoping to cross a $1 million threshold this year. We missed out on that by, I'm betting 60,000. So that's a little disappointing, but we're on the way.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that next year we'll be in an even better position.
What were the other years, like a 24, 23?
We actually did slightly better last year.
Yeah.
Well, until that $90,000 post, in which case we did better this year. So it's again, I don't
Right.
have the final numbers.
But it's close to
Last year was very similar because the last 6 months of the fiscal year, we got busy.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful. That's a tremendous increase from previous years.
Mm.
So it's been very good.
Okay.
So Chief, is this the end of your first budget? Were you
This,
involved with this budget?
well, I did not create that budget, but I did go to each town and request its approval. So this was the budget that was created by Carolyn S. Shores and Tim Drumble.
Yeah.
And I did make some changes to it, but no, that was not my budget.
Okay, so this was your base for your first budget this time? That was
It
in
was the base for it, correct. Our fiscal year 26 budget, which is entirely my budget, is much reduced from this.
I just forgot when, because I know the hiring, we had interviews with you like in November, December,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Right, and so, wasn't that the time?
Yeah.
I think that was the time frame, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had anything, how much input, and I know like kind of at the end of the, before you went, you had some concerns.
I did, and when I started, this was thrown at me, and by the way, you've got finance committee next week.
Okay.
So there was, zero time for me to really have a great impact on that budget.
But I think you did recommend a few changes and we.
That's correct.
Implemented.
I was able to get it, but, with no real institutional knowledge and not having the
Right.
background and not knowing the operation, I wasn't going to make a ton of
Yeah.
changes to it.
Yeah.
But there were a few things that I saw needed to be increased, actually.
So when you look at how the numbers ended up,
Yeah, pretty spot on, right?
That's all you, right?
well, but we understand how budgets are made and stuff, but, so you were able to use this to help you with this coming budget?
I used it as a guide, and we had anticipation of what the end of year budget would be. One of the biggest things we ran into with the fiscal '26 budget proposal was a lot of uncertainty about ambulance service receipts from federal payers.
Right.
So we budgeted with the idea that we're going to take a 20% hit to our revenue, right? Because we have theoretically the complete loss of Medicaid reimbursements, right? And that's 20% of our services,
Right.
right? So we budgeted for that. If that doesn't come to pass, and it looks like some of it will be decreased, but that's going to be a long-term thing. So we'll actually be in a really good position. So we budgeted for catastrophe, and it's not going to be the case. So
I guess my point is I think it's good fiscal management. Every few years, go back to a zero-based budget and start from scratch. And you may want to reprioritize things, or the community may want to, instead of, it's very easy to just go with the same budget, just add 2.5%. But sometimes I think you have a unique opportunity as coming in to really look at it and say, okay, there may be things that you want to change.
So I kind of inherited this budget, and it's, historically, there's some things on there that don't really make a lot of sense since the operation has changed over the years. So it is worth revisiting. And I would look towards greater input from the Board of Oversight with the next budget. So I'm hoping to actually get started on that end of this calendar year, maybe October, or bring a meeting in and we can start having those discussions. Makes sense.
Yeah, because most of the towns want the budget, in January, right?
Yeah, I think Sunderland wants it in January. Nobody else wants it in January. So I'll do my best. Yeah.
One quick clarification, on the revenue, 1,704,000, does that include the 90,000 that has not yet been received, that's been billed but not received?
Right, which number are you looking at?
The total revenue number on sorry, page 3, yeah.
Page 3, revenue total of 1.704 million.
Right, does that include what has not yet been,
No.
has been billed but not received?
No, there's an additional 90,000 that has not posted yet, and some more things will trickle in, intercept fees coming from coastal building and things.
The expenses generally are complete.
For the most part, there might be a couple odd things, but nothing of any real big value.
Okay.
Nickel and dime things. If you look at the last page, page 5, after the intercept vehicle, the grand total is the final numbers. But again, that's minus that 90,000.
Right. The 90,000 is just not represented anywhere in here.
No, and it'll post in July, and it'll reflect. All right, some of the things, some of the metrics we look at. Mr. Russo, you have requested a cost per haul and cost per transport. So just looking at it really straightforward, if we look at the total volume of 1,803 calls, and we take the cost to our department minus revenues, just the cost, this is what it costs to do a call, and that's what it costs to do for the 1,256 transports. It's a fun number to play with. I want to caution folks with this metric because it's a very fluid number. It does not represent the actual cost of doing an ambulance call in any way, shape, or form. But it's an interesting metric. Some of the things that I think are really useful to look at that impact that number and keep it fluid are primarily the unit hour utilization. Is everybody here familiar with the UHU
Can you do
concept?
that again?
Unit hour utilization. So this is kind of an old standby performance metric in the EMS world that's heavily used by EMS managers. Sometimes not so effectively, sometimes very effectively. So if we just look at our calls, I calculated this two separate ways. The first is our 1,803 total calls over the approximately 10,840 scheduled hours of labor gives us the 0.16. What that means is 16% of the time we're busy. We're doing something directly related to an ambulance call. And that's based off of the times below that, the response, scene, transport, turnaround. That total aggregates to give us what is our mean time spent on task, right? So that's your time on task number. So that's where that number comes from. When we calculate it by minutes, it decreases slightly if we get a little more granular about it, but it's still in the same range. So what does that look like as compared to other services? It's not slow, it's sleepy. When we look at what most services nationwide are targeting for 911 EMS, not urban, not rural, but kind of what we are. Most services are looking to stay in that 0.3 to 0.4 area because it gives you enough time to turn around, it gives you enough time to write your report, to complete your call, to drive back to your station from a hospital that's, 12 miles away, 20 miles away, right? So we don't really worry about giving away calls and overusing mutual aid resources until we start to cross that 0.3, 0.4 threshold. That's when things get busy and we maybe need to look at putting on additional units. We're nowhere near that. We could double our call volume right now, which isn't going to happen.
Right.
But even if we did, we would not be looking at giving away more calls statistically, right? There's always going to be variables. Yes, we would give away more calls, but not by much, right? So we've got a lot of wiggle room right now. So we started this fiscal year, I spoke to the Boo all about, hey, let's try something different. Let's do as much mutual aid and intercept work as we possibly can, and let's really embrace that mindset, and let's see where it leaves us. And this is where it's left us. It's left us with, we're still not very busy, but it sure has helped our revenues, and we've been able to lower our assessments. And so I'm really proud of how that's worked out.
Right.
When we look at the elements of time on task, kind of moving forward now, the responses are just outstanding. We look to nationwide standard for urban areas is going to be from PSAP time of call to dispatch of 8 minutes. We're not in an urban area with loads of ambulances, and we're almost hitting that. And some of our scenes are not close. So we're doing very well. Now, there are definitely big outliers to that, that kind of skew it. But for the most part, our response times are exquisite. Our time on scene has gone up, and that's 100% my fault. Just explaining to people, please spend the time you need on scene. The days of, scoop them up and run to the hospital are long over, thankfully. When somebody needs assistance, they need it now, not later on when we get to the hospital. So that's been great. Transport times are, for the most part, 16 minutes. That's amazing. Again, sometimes we go a little further, sometimes we have to wait. But turnaround time is the one thing we don't have a lot of power over, right? Yes.
Chief, I think it'd be a great time to talk about how important it is to call the ambulance, even if you aren't adapted. You'd rather, I think, we've said a million times, call the ambulance. and let the professionals make that determination if you need transport or not.
100%. I mean, for the community, definitely. I mean, we always stress if you are uncertain about that choice, call.
Yeah.
It does not necessitate transport. It does not necessitate an ambulance bill. It doesn't mean that, I mean, people are always concerned, and there are so many variables, and uncertainty is, you know, a horrible place to live.
It's fun, it's not, it's non-judgmental.
Yeah, of course. You know, we always, so that, yeah, that's one of those things I take for granted, for sure. But it is worth mentioning, and, you know, I think we do talk about those things when we engage the community, right? The importance of calling. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we certainly have the capacity based on the numbers. It makes sense to call when needed. You know?
Yeah, we're around, and on the off chance we're not. Today, for example, we had 2 ambulances out, and there was a call in Whately, and Hatfield came in and did that for us as part of our mutual aid agreement, and that was outstanding. It's working. So that was really nice. So we don't have a huge impact with the, is there a question?
Yes, there is. In regards to the way you were just talking about the calls and turning over a lot of mutual aid, letting other towns come in, and you're not worried about that, and in the meantime, South County EMS is running everywhere. As a resident here, as a senior citizen with a heart condition, it concerns me that my ambulances are serving people in Greenfield, they're serving Conway, they're serving Hatfield, and I don't have an ambulance here in town within a minute of my house like I should, because you're sounding like you're treating it, you just said, let's go mutual aid as much as we can this year. You're worried more about the revenue than you are about your residents in town. And me as a potential patient, I've been listening. I was an EMT in this town with Blake for many years. We started Deerfield Rescue, which is your predecessor of you guys. So I'm not a stranger to this. Jerry, Matt. So our concern was always with the patient. It sounds like your concern is more with the revenue and how much you're building it up. That's wrong. My ambulance, I'm listening. I still got scanners in my house. I'm not there all the time, but I'm hearing tons of calls to Greenfield. Both ambulances are in Greenfield. So earlier this year, a cold evening, both of our ambulances are on a mutual aid run. We got a guy in the center of town, 78-year-old male, down. 28-minute ETA for Northampton to come up. That's not right. That's not right. Our ambulance is going to Coleraine, going to Shelburne, constantly going to Hatfield now. When South County started, they offered it to Conway. Conway said, no, we're self-sufficient up here. 9 times out of 10 now, Conway is not responding. So South County is going up there. You're adding a ton of miles onto these vehicles. So if you're scheduled for a 4-year turnover on your ambulance, all of a sudden you're going to be looking at 2.5 or 3 years. Conway's not paying for that. Their taxes aren't paying for that. Hatfield's, they're going to Greenfield nonstop for really BS calls. I mean, some of the stuff, a cough, a foot pain. They went to, earlier this year, they went to 91 Smith Street in Greenfield, which is off of High Street across from the Farmers Co-op up there. You can almost see the hospital from 91 Smith Street. Why, where's the triage for this stuff? This was an intercept. A basic could have picked them up, been at the hospital. They could have picked up the stretcher and rolled it down the sidewalk, been at the hospital before Deerfield or South County was up there. Something's got to change with the triage. They shouldn't be going up there for foot pain. They shouldn't be going up there for a guy with a cough or a guy with eczema that they went to. So if we're going to be going to these towns regularly, we're going to need to get some sort of annual stipend, because I know the city of Greenfield is paying their ambulance service a stipend, and as is terms. So if we're gonna be going to these other towns regularly, we need to be getting something other than hopefully getting paid for the billing of the run. We need to be getting an annual thing. We need to, we're going to Conway all the time. We need to cut Conway in so we can lower our taxes for the 3 towns that are paying for it. So, that's all I got.
Thank you, no, I appreciate your concerns, Mr.
Becca.
Pleasure to meet you. I'd like to respond to a couple of those things. And again, I don't want to get in the back and forth. First and foremost, my office is right at 88 Greenfield Road, and any concerns are more than welcome to come see me. I'm happy to talk about things from my perspective. I do take some exception to your allegation that it is only about revenue and that I do not care about the patients and that I am not putting the 3 towns first. Because I can see where you're coming to that conclusion, but with all due respect, that's very wrong. There is a balance that comes about with even doing all of these additional calls, and we're only operating 14% of our scheduled hours. And we're giving away fewer calls to mutual aid now than we have historically. That is because of the increase in operating hours. So I understand the concern 100%, and on the surface, that makes a lot of sense. As far as the availability goes, there is not a single ambulance service in the world that is capable of doing all of its service area calls. It does not exist. The biggest systems out there rely on mutual aid. No one service can do it. It doesn't matter who they are. So as much as we do receive some mutual aid in, you're correct. We do give more out than we receive. And that is the correct side of things to be on. That is where we want to be, is a very good neighbor who is not sapping the resources of other communities. As far as the nature of the calls, oh, do I hear you? But again, we just had a discussion of please call and let us make that determination. If you're talking about our mutual aid partners requesting advanced life support intercepts for things that you don't feel meet that criteria, sometimes you're right, and those conversations do happen. They definitely happen. Sometimes we go in with additional training and experience, and we see things that maybe the crew didn't, and we're pretty happy we were there. The distance from hospital, argument, I get that. You can be across the street from the hospital, and I still may spend 30, 40 minutes in your house treating you. Because the process of getting somebody into a hospital, registered, getting their medical record loaded up, getting in order into a bracelet system, scanning a bracelet, scanning the medication, it is so much simpler for me to drop the medication in the back of the ambulance than it is for that process to occur.
Can I ask
So, I'm almost done. The right thing to do is to take care of that person. So I totally appreciate where you're coming from, and in many cases I don't disagree. When you're talking about maybe asking for more, but I will say, while I'm not completely only interested in the budget and of revenue, this is not a business. My stewardship of this budget is to hopefully break even. Right now, I need to make revenue because we need to replace ambulances. It's not because they've been going to more calls for the last year. It's because we didn't have a system in place for a really long time. We're there. That's great. We're able to do that without going to the towns now and say, hey, all those taxes you pay us, and by the way, we need more money. Right? So it's unfortunately It's unfortunate that we do miss some calls here and there, and sometimes those calls are going to be of acuity. But I do have some graphs to show you about the mutual aid that we receive, and it's probably not as high as you're expecting. You have another question?
Yes, when you're talking about spending the 30 to 40 minutes in somebody's house, when the medic program started here, way back when we were basics, and yes, it was a scoop and run thing, you're not supposed to delay transport. That was the golden rule when the medic started. When they came in, we had a couple of medics, not too many, and if they came in to help us, it was, if you can't do it while the rig is en route, you don't do it. My father-in-law was a prime example, tiny veins, and they would come down when he'd have an issue, and they would sit in that back of that ambulance for 20 minutes. My mother-in-law would be in the car just screaming to move because they couldn't get a line.
So,
If I'm laying there with chest pains, I don't want to be in my house for 30 to 40 minutes or in the back of the ambulance. I want to be at the hospital.
of course you do. I appreciate that. Those days are over. It's one thing to put somebody in the ambulance and maybe we'll have some luck while bouncing down the road in the back of the pickup truck and then get them to the hospital. It's another thing to take care of them and give them this is the accepted standard of care nationwide. The days of turning around that fast are long over, and this is recognized across the medical community. This comes down to us from the critical care world, from the emergency medicine world. This is the guidance and the guidelines that are issued by ASAP, this is how we operate now. So that whole paradigm does not exist anymore. It does exist when we're concerned about trauma, when we're concerned about time-sensitive events such as myocardial infarction or stroke. That exists, definitely, and in those instances, we don't wait and see. We deliver it quickly. But most of the cases we run into, we're going to have better outcomes, decreased hospital stays, more survivability if we spend the extra 20 minutes.
So,
That's just how it is.
so I want to thank you for your questions. It's something that we, as a board of oversight, have been struggling with for a while now, and I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about it. But I appreciate you taking the time to bring those. We need to hear just what you brought forward. So thank you very
I
much.
won't dwell on it anymore. Thank you guys for your time. I needed to
Thank you very much.
let that be known.
Thanks.
I think you also.
Yeah, and just to follow up, I think that the metrics that you were using were showing that we have 84% of the hours available to help people, as opposed to meaning that, you know, we're going to go to Timbuktu to take care of somebody rather than, we're saying 84% of the hours that are staffed, we're available, and most of the other times we're taking care of the 3 towns residents.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's so many examples that I can cite from earlier this year where I know that our guys are gone and we have another call in town. I know it's a luck of the draw, and I don't want to be that poor guy laying on
Well,
the
yeah,
side
I
of the
mean,
street.
basically what you're saying, Fred, is that, you know, Matt Russo would go down with a heart attack. I could go down with a heart attack, and you're the third person and you're shut out of luck.
Right.
You know,
But that's why you have mutual aid too.
Right.
And like,
But-
so, I
you can't
mean-
sit there and kind of wait for only our residents.
I
Yeah.
realize that. Trevor.
It's a tough balance.
It is, but you know, some of these, with, I'm saying, with the triage, if
Mhm.
a guy's got a sore foot in Greenfield,
There is legislation before the State House right now about making EMS an essential service, about telephone triage and regional dispatch centers where you don't get this kind of response, and hopefully we see some movement. There's discussion at the State House right now about reimbursement for non-transport That's outstanding. So hopefully we see change that all impacts this. There's a known need, for sure. And you and I are, we're fighting the same battle, trust me. We're on the same side here.
The last thing I think I would mention, though, it does, I've thought about too, is discussing with our area communities, Greenfield, wherever we're traveling, to kind of talk a bit about budgets and how much, can they, during the spring, we held the EMS small symposium at the rural conference down in Holyoke, and talked a bit about seeing the change in all these small towns struggling to do what we do so successfully. And I think in the future you'll see smaller, several more of these entities kind of gobble up the other towns, because they have to all work together. There's no way each town, a Conway, I think, is realizing they can't do it on their own. Everybody can't, so there does need to be more and more small things, and we should talk more regionally about, obviously Northfield and Bernston are building theirs, and, trying to find ways to kind of wrap in these other communities and look at ways to pay for it too.
And that was part of my motivation behind why I asked for a cost per call and a cost per transport. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And to your point, we can argue that all day long. But let's get a starting point and begin to figure out, here's what it costs us to transport the patient from your community.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we typically get in reimbursement.
Right.
Here's the delta.
Right.
The delta is being filled by our communities currently.
Right.
So we need your community to help pitch in to fill that delta for
Right.
us, to your point, to make sure that it's fair for everybody. If you don't
Absolutely.
want to provide a paramedic service, that's fine.
Right.
But when
But
you
we're not going to for free.
when you don't have any service available, there's mutual aid and there's primary aid.
Right.
If you don't have a fire department and a house goes on fire, and you're going to continue to call in the town next to you, well, eventually they're going to need a fire truck.
Right.
They expect you to pay for it. We'll come up and we'll help your folks out, but we're going to need a new ambulance, so we're going to need some money to help offset the
Yeah.
cost of the ambulance. We're not looking, to your point earlier with the CPR, we're not looking to make money on this.
Just-
We're looking to break even
And be
and fair.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out to that effect, and that is our next agenda item, so we can kind of move there a little bit. Our average bill per transport is higher than $1,448. Now, it depends on who the payer is as to what we receive. So we are charging more than this. And in most cases, we are receiving that reimbursement, especially if that person has private insurance. There is a population that relies on public assistance, people that are on primary Medicaid, primary Medicare, and historically, we have not gone after those populations with balanced bills.
Right.
And that's fantastic. We're very lucky to be in that position, because most EMS services are not. That leaves people with insurance to foot the bill, and it's not the person, it's the insurance.
Right.
But we are seeing that, so I don't disagree at all. But once again, I think of any chance we can take to increase the earnings, to reduce that wear and tear or cycle vehicles more often. But once again, we're right back to this discussion. Well, what are we doing then? Because to your point, well, it's okay to go out of town all the time as long as we're getting paid enough. Well, we are getting paid enough. We are getting that reimbursement because we're not doing these costs for free. No, it's not coming out of the tax base, but we are getting a reimbursement for that call. We're not just giving it away. We're not saying, hey, this $1,400, that's a wash. No, we're getting that $1,400.
Right, but I think what Fred might be trying to get at and everything else is Sunderland, and I'm gonna use some very round numbers. Deerfield's paying $400,000, Sunderland's paying $200,000, Whately's paying $100,000. We're all paying that money in out of our tax base to provide ambulance service for our towns. I understand there's gonna be billing, everything else. But we're still footing all those expenses that aren't getting covered by the bill. And that's where, again, I understand we're getting money for that mutual aid call. We are, and maybe it covers it. But it can't possibly be covering enough if we're all still paying an assessment, but Greenfield's not, Conway's not. And again, I'm not, this is how it's working out, but I think that's where some people are looking for a little.
No, I get that, but once again, I wanna go back to that balance. The minute we start doing apron charges, the minute we start doing surcharges to the town in addition to our ambulance bill, that's when towns don't call anymore. And if you want
Is
to.
it the town calling, or is it?
Very much so, because it's an agreement that we have with that community, is very much the town calling.
It feels like it's a bit like school choice, right? Where, you never get enough to educate the child, but you need some sort of balance to, we need that school choice to fund
In some
what we
ways,
do, but it's, where you still need some, I feel like we need a discussion, and maybe it's a nominal fee with these communities, and maybe they'll decide, no, it isn't right, but then if we lose that kind of thing, I think what you're saying is, if we go too much the other way or make it, too expensive, or if they feel like it doesn't, if we don't present it as a value, they may not call, and then we wind up like, oh, we don't have any school choice kids, and now we don't have enough money to kind of fund everything.
So, yeah, no, it's a good analogy, with some very big differences.
Yeah.
But I like to look at it from a different angle. It's been brought up to me many times about why are we responding to communities who don't cover their own community. They've made that choice not to pay for their own ambulance service.
Yeah.
The answer is we're not. Conway, Hatfield, Greenfield do have ambulance services. Greenfield has a robust ambulance service. Conway, I would love for Conway to join our service.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. But they want to do their own thing. Hatfield just went to vote at town just a couple of months ago, and they voted down overnight coverage. Now, that could have been improved for sure. I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but hopefully they can try a different approach and be successful. I did have a nice conversation with Chief Flaherty, and I just discussed, hey, there's this possibility of an apron charge for overnight calls. Would that be helpful to you? Would it be helpful if you went to your town and said, hey, South County's going to start charging us to do these calls overnight when you said we couldn't have the money to do it? Will that be helpful to him to get his overnight coverage? Because then it bolsters our entire system.
Right.
Hatfield has been outstanding about getting mutual aid into Whately, where before we were waiting not on Northampton, we were waiting on AMR out of Greenfield. They've been the primary backup mutual aid to Whately for the last decade, is out of Greenfield. Right? I would sit and watch Northampton ambulances when I started go past our station from Northampton to go to calls in Conway, and we're sitting there doing nothing. Even with the extra volume, we're still not doing that much. And, just to the point of it being about revenue, no, it is not about revenue. It is about the person who is calling 911 and has no concept of any of this.
Right.
And most people don't really, they just want somebody to come. Like,
Josh, do you guys revisit the agreements you have with the towns on a yearly basis, or is it just an original thing?
So there's the original agreements. I've revised a few of them. Some of them stand from forever and are in need of that. I've established a couple of them, and some of them are revisited, like with Charlemont, for example, they want to do it every 3 years, so things like that.
I'm just wondering if maybe should be, maybe it is every 3 years, that you go in and you revisit the mutual aid agreements, and then some of these things that have been brought up here tonight can be brought to these other towns, so that maybe there is changes that can be made in the mutual aid pact. And answer to Fred, we've had problems with mutual aid with the ambulance service since I was involved in it. So this isn't something that's gonna go away. This is not something that, there's gonna be times when the ambulance is not in town because it's out on a mutual aid call. It's trying to figure out the best way to make sure we get all the coverage done that we possibly can. And I think by visiting the different towns and discussing the mutual aid agreements that you have, that's probably your best way out of it, whether it's, I'm not even talking financially, or I'm talking the entire package of, making sure that the community feels comfortable with what's going on with the mutual aid part of it.
Yeah, of
Right, and I
course.
think what happens, and I'm sure you get the phone calls just like I do. I don't get a phone call that says, hey, South County ambulance showed up at my house. I get the phone call that said, Amherst showed up at my house, South County didn't, what's going on? So I think sometimes it exaggerates that to us,
Right.
because we're not getting that phone call that said, hey, South County showed up and everything was perfect. It's not only, but the majority of my phone calls, regarding the ambulance are when someone else shows up. They're not, that's the concern, right? They all want an answer. Why did Amherst come to my house?
Maybe, sometimes a public forum every once in a while to kind of
Right.
let the people, which we were gonna say, yeah, just letting the people understand how it happens and why it happens and all, just to keep people in the know.
Fred, this is your last
Yes,
question.
on my way out.
It's your- okay, very good.
It's past my bedtime. Now, what I'd like to see done, that so many other towns do that don't have ambulances, is they're dispatching the fire departments. So if we have a thing where an old man's laying on the sidewalk with a 28-minute ETA for Northampton, is you're toning South Deerfield Fire. Because now you get the Deerfield Cruiser pulling up with a blanket in the back. So at least the fire department will go out with this $1 million rescue truck that's got all this stuff in it.
Here, here.
Anytime, and, talk with Chief Swayze and tell him this is what's gonna be going on, because there's no reason for a patient to be lying there on the ground with a 28-minute ETA for an ambulance and no emergency medical help except for a first responder police officer. So it's time to start looking into that.
I would agree.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, just want to.
Thank you all.
See you, Fred.
Before we move on, Conway has always been welcome to join South County. And we have heard, Chief has heard, that has heard other than that statement from people. Conway was one of the towns that was asked in the beginning to be part of South County. They've always been welcome. If they wanted to join tomorrow, they'd be in the day after, as soon as we put everything in order. And believe it or not, Hatfield was one of the towns that was also invited to come to the original conversations as well.
Yeah.
And they decided not to join South County, but it looks, and again, I think one of the concerns with Hatfield right now is that they just had a ballot question to support overnight service.
I think part of
And
the
they
issue.
rejected that.
Yeah, they did.
And that's hard because our residents have always supported South County without question for the most part after that first year. And we are not a for-profit service. And as Crystal and others have said, we are based on taxpayer dollars. And and Fred may have said it also. So it's hard. If someone says, and the definition of mutual aid has to be explored also, because mutual, unless my English, frontier English fails me, mutual means it goes both ways. And has Tommy come to give us mutual aid?
Very rarely.
So that's not mutual.
It happens, but it's rare. No, agreed, it is not mutual.
And has Greenfield come down to us?
Very much so. Greenfield is a good mutual aid partner, especially on the fire department side of things. to
Fire department.
Greenfield, especially, I mean.
Fire
there's-
department's different.
Well, yes and no. It is a fire department ambulance. Greenfield has been a good partner. Absolutely.
Right now, if someone in Hatfield has a stroke at midnight, Hatfield's not covered. Who's covering that?
We're gonna be first call to that. If Hatfield can't put a crew together, they're gonna tone it up to Hatfield first.
Let's assume that Hatfield
Then
will
it's,
not.
then it's going to us. If we're not available to do the call, then it's
Okay.
going to Northampton.
I'm just trying to think, what is the incentive for Hatfield to pay into our, a substantial amount to our system when essentially they're getting the coverage?
So the issue with Hatfield, it's not that they were asking for overnight coverage. They were asking for overnight coverage, an additional daytime person, and a ladder truck.
Oh, there was a lot of.
Right, so I think maybe they could revisit this and maybe find the funding that they need. And so that was my discussion with Chief Larry, was would it be useful for you if I charged you
Right,
an apron charge?
yeah,
Every time you call us overnight, I'm gonna put a fee on this. So
Yeah.
this discussion is happening.
good. That's kind of what we think.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what I was getting at. Right now, they're getting that overnight coverage essentially for free, whereas our three towns
Yeah, for
are
sure.
subsidizing that.
No, absolutely. Well,
Well, I mean, we're providing half of the revenue of the department.
If you went to Hatfield and you had to transport a patient and they have insurance, it's not for free.
Right.
it's, no, we are.
I mean, it's free in some sense to Hatfield because they're not.
Well, it's free to the town of Hatfield. If
Right.
they have, if we have that call in Whately or Deerfield, they get the same
But
insurance,
it's not
except
free in
we're
the sense that our
also,
system
as
is not
taxpayers,
getting-
paying it.
It's not free in the sense that our system is not getting paid for
No,
transporting
but-
that patient to a
So
hospital.
we are getting paid for that transport.
No, I
No,
understand.
no,
Right.
I
But it's not
I don't deny that, but
costing
when they make a call, when they answer a call, in our towns,
Right.
they're getting that same payment
Right.
plus what they're paying in their taxes.
Right.
I would love to see change in Hatfield. I would love to see them get their overnight coverage because that would be very useful for us.
Right.
When they are up and available during the day, they have been outstanding partners. This happened just today.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that relationship blossom. And if adding a surcharge is going to be useful in getting them what they want, I'm all for it.
Right.
I also think, as much as the concern exists, it is exceedingly rare for those instances to happen where we don't have the ambulance available.
Or an
And
old
somebody,
gentleman is laying on the ground for
this
20
idea
years.
of, a poor old man laying for 25, 28 minutes in the snow,
What's the
All right.
problem, Chief?
You know.
If he's paying taxes for that service, it's not available to
I
him.
get it 100%. He's not wrong. But I'm saying realistically, that is an exceptionally rare event. And so a more pragmatic approach, truly, is if you want to continue to see those taxes go down, if you want to see the service coverage improve and increase, where's that money gonna come from?
Where it has been.
The other thing is, like I said to Fred, okay, let's take the same old man laying in the snowbank for 28 minutes, and both of our ambulances are out taking care of somebody in Sunderland and somebody in Whately. If there was no mutual aid, that person could lay there for an hour.
Sure.
So, you know, to find the worst case scenario and then say that this is happening regularly is just not factually correct.
Well, I'm also hoping that other communities are having the same discussion, because when we show up to Conway, to Hatfield, to Coleraine, we're not there in 8 minutes.
Right.
Those are those outliers.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think that, you know, the meeting we had this spring in Holyoke, it was like just a small starting point, just talking with the chief in Northfield about how they're trying to build theirs. I think, you know, work through the FERCog to kind of help all of our communities kind of recognize this problem and build towards maybe there's a small fee system that some of these towns who can't afford to staff 24/7 or can't afford to join or too far to join or something. I think there is more work to be done in the region about beefing up all of our services. As you said, if they improve in Whately, it just helps us in the long run. I mean, in Hatfield, you know, if they improve.
I'm not trying to be oppositional to any of this. I'm all
Yeah.
for this conversation, and I think it's a good topic. I think we should probably,
So Chief, one question. If we have both ambulances out, Shelburne Controls knows that, right?
yes,
So they wouldn't, am I correct or incorrect in saying that they shouldn't even bother calling? They should be toning out one of our mutual aid partners.
that's exactly what happens.
And it still takes 28 minutes to get to that gentleman on the street corner?
I think that might be,
Right.
maybe unusual example.
Right, unfortunately, those are the examples that
Yeah.
get
Because-
really
where you
well
get
known.
my
also-
Well,
we talked about.
because I'm saying
Also-
that I can understand a call to wait. And again, a call to Hatfield at midnight, they're gonna tone out Hatfield and help him at a one-tone, two-tone, no one answers. At the third tone, they're gonna get mutual aid at that point?
I am not familiar with that call, if that's even an actual call. I think that may have been an example. If that call happened, nobody has informed me about it, where, I mean, I don't even know that that's real. I think it might have been,
But if it happened or not, I just like.
well, no, whether it happened or not is actually important.
It is.
Because if
It is
it
one-
did happen, that would be something we would take very
Absolutely, I
seriously.
agree.
But if it's something that is just kind of thrown out there as just to illustrate it could happen, well, let me show you what does happen.
But to try to help me understand, if we are calling out, if Shelburne Control knows that I don't have an ambulance available because we're out on call, then we should be calling our mutual aid partnership.
That's what happens.
Right, and so it should.
That is what should happen, and that is what happens.
Yes, I think Fred's comment was, he heard on the scanner Northampton was 28 minutes out to be on scene, which to me, and I don't know the call, it might have been just dropping a patient off at the hospital, and they knew they were gonna need some turnaround time before they could head out and make it up here. I also don't know what the weather was, that may have played a role in it. But there have been times in the past where, and I'm going back to ancient history, where all these ambulances are all tied up on calls. Northampton's the one who they think has probably got the quickest turnaround time based on when everybody else was dispatched. And there may not have been any other options. So to Fred's point, yeah, probably great to send the fire department to begin some type of treatment of that patient. And we may need to take a look at that. The royal we, meaning our chief, will need to take a look at that. But I know Fred's got a scanner, I know he listens, and I don't doubt what he's saying. I guess we don't know the whole story. And it's hard to sit here and surmise. And to your point, Crystal, we're always gonna get the calls from the people who didn't get our ambulance.
Oh, correct. But that's what I'm
And they
saying,
don't
and
know
they, that has the potential to make it sound like it's a bigger
Sure.
problem than it is, because nobody's calling us
Sure.
saying, South County showed up in
Yeah.
9 minutes.
I would like
Instead,
to request that when you get those calls, that I know about them, because I don't get those calls.
Yeah.
I never get them. So unless you tell me that feedback you're getting from the community, I'm not hearing it, and I can't address
It's
it.
important, yeah.
It's very important that I get that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're talking about when we get those calls, I'm thinking, what calls?
We need it.
That's,
I don't get that.
I am not getting those calls.
Oh, you're not?
I haven't heard, have never gotten that call from someone lately.
So, I mean, please
well, that's
pass
because
that
everyone
information
in town
along.
knows me.
Right.
You know, you used to be.
Please pass that along to me, because I would like to address that.
Yeah, find a way to
Every
fix
single
it.
time I'd like to address that.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I'm gonna move forward real
Yeah.
quickly and just finish this up, before we move on. This just kind of looks at the breakdown of what we did, over the year, 1,100. Of our transports, 1,107 of them were primary ambulance transports, 149 of them were intercepts, where a member of our crew got in somebody else's ambulance and accompanied them to the hospital.
That's, okay, that's what an intercept is.
That is an
I
intercept.
see.
So the vast majority of them are primary transports.
Mhm.
And that is, we don't have an ambulance available. Right, please come do the call for us, or it's in our service area.
Can you forward, just after this is over, I'd love this slide there.
All yours.
That'd be awesome, thank you.
All right, where did we go this year? Most of our calls were in our service area, and the big outlier,
Makes sense.
of course,
You wanna pay
is,
the most?
right, the big outlier is Greenfield, for sure.
Yeah,
Nobody would deny that. These numbers haven't changed. They've actually gone down since last year. I think it was 306 last year. Of course, it's increased into Hatfield,
yeah. Conway.
and then we've kind of spread our fingers and we've been requested further and further away. And that's not because I've said, hey, world, we're here to do your ambulance calls, because, you know,
They're
that's the
struggling.
kind of guy I am. What this is they're struggling,
Yeah,
right?
they are.
So we, once again, I'm very pleased that we are on the side of this that we are, because we don't want to be on the other side of it.
It would be curious to find out from Conway how many ambulance calls they had last year.
Yeah,
When we
versus,
responded to 94.
I will
Right.
say that Colerain has taken up the slack and has done more Conway calls than we have.
yeah,
Okay.
So Colerain has also been a very good partner, in more ways than one. And we have gone to Colerain a couple of times. I don't want to call it Colerain last week.
yeah,
Beautiful town.
yeah. I was just there.
So,
Take forever to get.
yeah, it's some time. So yeah, in that case, they probably were waiting 28 minutes. for
Yeah,
us
so
to
it's
get
a
the call, right?
For anybody.
But we've even loaned Colerain ambulance, our spare ambulance, a couple of times when they needed it.
Mhm.
They're very good partners.
Yeah,
And of course, their director is full-time staff at South County. So.
yeah.
All right, mutual aid received, these are those third quarter numbers that you've seen. At the end of the third quarter, we had received 111 calls fiscal year to date. That is a substantial decrease from our peak years, and it's an increase over some of our slow years. It is right along the mean, which is 110, so it's one call above the mean.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with that. And what that tells me is that even though our call numbers are going up, we're not giving away more calls than we ever have. And this is before we even agreed to mutual aid. When I started at South County, we would not do intercepts unless we had that second truck up and running.
Yeah.
I stopped that practice, but we would not do it. And even with that, we were giving away more mutual aid than we are now. It's just filling out the hours.
Yeah.
All right, I saw this bear in Leverett and thought it was funny. All right, next item, are there any questions about the end of your report? If anybody is interested in more specific information, and I will update the boo with a more complete picture once those things post, once we have more complete data, but this is as of today.
Yep.
I just want to make one thing. I did ask Brenda earlier for a quick overview, and one thing that she did say is that estimated revenues through June are 235,000 over what was budgeted last year. So we haven't been giving away more calls, and the revenue has gone up. I think that's a good thing.
We had a very good year. I understand the concerns that people have, that just as those concerns are never going to go away, I know the conversation's never going to go away. How do we approach this from a practical point of view is we deliver better value to the taxpayers who fund us. And we're doing that. We're available more often. We have greater service coverage. We have better paid employees. We have better equipment. We have less cost to the taxpayer. And we're able to move forward and replace equipment in vehicles more easily now because of it. I don't know how that's anything other than a complete victory. And if I were sitting in any other boardroom or municipal building in the world, I think that might be celebrated.
It's
So
it's really it's the premier service.
it is, and I'm very proud
I
of
can't think of
what
another.
they do.
Everybody should be proud of what we have, for sure.
I appreciate all the efforts that have been made by yourself and the team, especially all the community involvement, the seniors, the CPR, the car seats.
I love that.
Those were some
Love
things
that
that
more
had been lacking, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate the fact that you've worked with the team to get that back. I think the revenue piece is a great point. We're always looking to balance that with service needs and demands of the
Yeah.
community. But to your point, it's better to be on the upside than
Yes,
the revenue fell short side.
for sure.
And I know we've written off quite a bit to help clean the books up.
Yeah.
So I think all the way around,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you
very
very
good
much.
year.
Thank you.
Appreciate
It's
it.
been a very good year. All right, I wanted to talk about personal response while off duty. This is a legacy of when we were a call department, and it was an essential component of that. For the community who doesn't know what I'm talking about, what a call department means is there is not somebody physically at the station with the ambulance. Not somebody calls 911, the dispatch center sends out a tone alerting our department that this call happens. People get that call, they get in their car, they drive to the station, they pick up the ambulance, and then they drive to the scene. We still see a lot of fire departments that are call systems that operate this way in South Deerfield and Deerfield are both run like this. We're not a call department. We don't have any call employees. We haven't for years. We are a full-time career department. We're primarily staffed with full-time career paramedics. We have a smaller number of per diem EMTs and paramedics, most of whom their other full-time job is as a professional EMT or paramedic. So we have a very different composition than we did. We don't ever send out a tone to request people respond to an incident. The on-duty ambulance goes to that call, the second on-duty ambulance goes to that call, and then it goes right to mutual aid, as you had discussed. We don't have a mechanism in place for call assignments. It doesn't exist. So this is a legacy that's left over, and
Even
there's,
though, can I interrupt? Even though we have
3 ambulances, we could never staff for that third ambulance to just be ready to go. I mean, you could if you had a lot more revenue to pay more employees, but again, at 14 or 16% of the time on call, you don't want to add more people
I
to be.
don't, but, no, it's a great point, but I think another issue here is we see this with fire departments routinely. If there's a call and we tone it out and people respond to the station and pick up the ambulance and then get to the scene, our mutual aid partner is gonna be us there every single time.
Yeah, for
Right,
sure.
we see this with fire calls all over Franklin County, all over the state, where the career department, who is staffed and ready to go, gets there before the call in town. Like, this is
Yeah.
normal stuff. So it just makes sense to utilize that mutual aid. So the idea with, another question.
Well, just my view on this from my time here was that third ambulance was kind of there as the one that was sitting at Treehouse, or the one that was gonna be at a football game or a field hockey game or something. So you had staff per diem or whatever that were scheduled to kind of cover these events, and that wasn't your, when a mass casualty, I mean, maybe a mass casualty, everybody goes, but general calls, you wouldn't have that third ambulance also zipping around.
That's correct. That's what's going on as we speak.
Okay. Just making sure I was still
No,
on
you got it.
the plane.
So, no, right on. This legacy of personal response brings up a couple of concerns for me. The first is we don't carry equipment in our personal vehicles. Most people don't have lights, sirens, and warning devices in their personal vehicles.
Right.
If they do get involved in an accident or an incident in their personal vehicle while responding to an incident, are we picking that up? Is that our responsibility? I don't think so. Right, so is it fair to that responder? Right, and then they get there and what do? It's not like the days where we really needed the help. Because to the point about getting the fire department, getting the police department, getting mutual aid, if we need help, we have it. It's really simple to get. And we do this all the time. Sometimes we are the help. Right? So what I'm going to propose for this is, and this is kind of one of those things that I was a little hesitant, but because it's a major change to policy with South County EMS involving personnel and response in the community, it's very appropriate to run it past them. I would like to propose that we don't do off-duty response as a routine matter, meaning I'm sitting around at home listening to the radio and, oh, that sounds interesting, or, oh, I bet they could use some help, and then I just decide to go. Right? That's what I want to stop. But I don't want to eliminate the mechanism for getting that help if it is needed. So what I would like to explore is the idea that if additional help is needed, it goes through shelter control, meaning the requesting or the on-scene or responding ambulance requests that assistance through shelter control, who then sends out the request via tone. And that way it's monitored. That way there's purpose to it. And it's not willy-nilly. It's not, because the few times we've had somebody show up in the last year, it's nice, I appreciate the efforts, but it hasn't been helpful.
Do your staff have pagers, or are they paged?
Yeah.
They're all paged. All right, so you could institute it pretty
It
easily.
would be very straightforward to do.
But then if you page them out, you pay them. Right?
Not necessarily, I mean, again, we don't, I mean, I would pay somebody if they submitted for that time, if they
Yeah.
did respond. Yeah, I would pay, of course.
Yeah.
But We don't have like a call mechanism or on-call mechanism, nor do I plan on it. I mean, these instances are so exceedingly rare.
Oh, okay, they are
Yeah,
there.
like, we're talking almost non-existent.
And I would
Okay.
feel like it would be more of a mass casualty event, right? Where like, there's a major 15-car accident, most
Not even
people.
that, it could be a 2-car accident with 6 people.
Right,
See,
right.
I think it would
Overwhelming.
probably, are these instances where they hear it and they go, oh my God, that's my mother-in-law's
Yeah.
address, I want to go over and check, or
It
is,
does happen where it's
because
like, somebody
those,
knows.
those are hard to stop, right?
Yeah.
They are, but I
Because
think,
it's your family, or it's your friend, or it's your, and,
more often it's a Hollywood call. It sounds.
It's a what?
A Hollywood
oh, a
call.
Hollywood call, okay.
Right, it involves,
Bad accident.
something.
Barricaded
8
stuff.
people here in front of the
Right, so,
station with,
and for the most part, I appreciate the desire to go do your work, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful, but what are you contributing to this right now?
If I can just add, why don't we have the chief draft a policy, and then we will discuss what we do in light of the proposed policy?
That's what I'm requesting.
Yeah, I don't think we need to
yeah,
go through the details tonight.
yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. Moving
Sounds
on. Close policy. Thank you, Fred. New ambulance delivery is still scheduled for end of first quarter 2026. The sales rep is going to come sit with me next week or the week after. We're going to talk about the final details of it before it goes into production. Chassis is still sitting there. I'm hoping to actually reduce the cost of it because we agreed that we would keep the Red Rocket ambulance 351 because the loss of $5,000 is just not worth it. Right? We need the additional truck.
And what is the chassis? Did you decide to go
It's
with a Ford? or-
it's a Ford F-450, I think.
So we're going back to like the old side trucks, and
Yeah,
Sunderland way.
No, it's a 450. It's exactly what we've got currently.
Pickup.
So it's a
I
pickup.
thought we used to have internationals.
No, we won't be doing that.
I know, damn, I wish I missed those trips to West Springfield, the
Yeah.
oil change.
Internationals are great at moving refrigerators and things like that. They don't always make the best ambulances. That's happening. We're in a bad way of ambulance.
Are we funding? Like, we used to put money aside each year and we're funding, but I think the lead time is a long time for these.
It's a 3-year lead time,
Jeez.
and that ambulance is funded. The money is sitting there, ready to go.
Have we ordered it?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be here in spring. We ordered it
No,
almost 2
yeah.
years ago.
What about the next
The
one?
next one we have not, so that's what I want to bring up, is I would like to put together a subcommittee where we talk about it. I would like to get some quotes. I would like to explore purchasing a new ambulance, either a demo unit, which we can get at a reduced cost, or a new purchase, which is a custom order, but at a much reduced rate, because some of the bells and whistles we pay for, I think they're really nice, but not entirely necessary. We need an ambulance, and I don't want to wait 3 years to get it. We have the money for it right now. So what I'm hoping to do is put this together, get a bunch of quotes, involve the employees, and get their feedback, get their opinion,
Yeah.
their input, and we can hopefully get this together, and I would like to get this thing ordered as soon as possible. This would be something that has to go on the warrant for a special town meeting,
Right.
because I don't want to wait until next fiscal year.
We have
We need a
fall
truck.
meeting coming up, so, or how do we do anyways?
You have what?
We have a fall
We
town
have
meeting.
fall, so that would be
We
ideal.
probably will as well.
Yeah, okay, good.
It's not scheduled yet, but
So,
No, and I think we're gonna end up having one too,
Yeah.
just following the same reasons you guys are.
Seniors.
things come up and.
Yeah.
Right, but just because of if that could all be timed together.
That'd be great. Okay. Sounds good.
So any, I mean, it's not vote worthy, but any concerns or opposition to
No,
that?
not at all, Chief, but I was just wondering, sorry, Mike again. Can you, because I know one of the things we have in most towns, the capital plan. So I know like you have your stretchers and your, so is there any chance that at some point in the next 8 or 9 months, you could start putting a capital plan so we can look at the ambulance and then we can start matching revenue to that, okay?
Way ahead of it.
Great, thank you. And again, it's just one, that way we can show that it's not a willy-nilly purchase. They're being done for a reason.
Way ahead of it. And this will play big into the fiscal year 27 budget.
Right.
It has to be.
Yeah.
This has to be a necessary component of it. It never has, so. Okay.
Could,
Great.
I'm sorry, Fred, go
I
ahead.
was just saying, when you say you've got the money already for the ambulance, what are your how much is set aside based on what the estimated cost?
I can't tell you. I mean, ambulance costs vary dramatically. If we find a dental unit that suits our needs, we could probably get it under $300,000.
Wait, you say that we have the money. How big is that pot right now?
Roughly $400,000.
Okay.
Roughly.
So, in the past, we've typically bought a chassis ahead of time and then had the truck custom built to it.
Yeah.
If that works, then do we need a price for a chassis for fall town meetings so we can approve the money to buy the chassis and then the rest of it in the spring?
So that approach, yeah.
And I'll say this, I don't mean to press you for a question tonight. If it's something you need to think on and get back to us, but just something to be thinking about, because if we go that route, we need it, then it'll be a little bit of pressure on you to try to figure that out before fall town meetings if we need to put our.
I mean, life under pressure is what I do.
I know.
That is one method. That is the more expensive method of buying an ambulance, is by separately pricing the chassis and the box and then marrying them. That is done because sometimes it reduces the lead time. But not always. I prefer to go with something that first and foremost really suits our needs, that is going to be familiar to our crews and will deliver on what we need it to at a reduced cost. I don't need the fanciest thing out there. And we've got some pretty fancy ambulances. They're very nice. We could probably dial that back a little bit.
I mean, you'd still have the life-saving stuff, the cardiac monitor, and all that, yeah, we're not talking
And
about.
I mean, we're still talking about power loads
Yeah.
and the expensive structures and all. I mean, I don't want to take hits to any of the safety
Right.
measures or anything like that.
Good.
So, all right. So we will look into that and I will report back and we'll go over our thoughts.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the subcommittee, is that you and your staff, you're gonna talk internally and say this is what we
Correct.
should
Yeah.
request that we would support? Good,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep. Great. All right. That's vehicle replacement planning, but I want to add to that in the capital plan. I'd like to get us in a place where we can purchase a new ambulance every 3 years
That was the goal.
over the next 6-year period.
Right.
Starting not with the one we just ordered, but starting with the one we're about to order.
Okay.
That's going to put us in a good place. That if we need to take a break for a year or two, we possibly can. Down the
And
road.
then eventually just phasing out 35A1.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're not gonna get this to a 4 ambulance rotation.
We can't. I mean, we're gonna have 4 ambulances
Right.
very soon.
Right.
But the next one to come in, 351 is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the intent is to go back to 3.
Yeah.
This 4 is just,
Just to get us past.
yeah.
Yeah, because we need it right now. 'Cause
Oh,
right now,
no,
all
that's
three of
fine,
them
I just
have
wanted to
major
know the big
problems.
plan, are we
Yeah,
moving
for
towards
sure.
4, or are we really attempting to stay at?
No.
Helicopter let us do our work faster.
No. You don't want to deal with CAMS accreditation. So there's that, and then, station update, we're doing a lot of, changes, we're throwing away a lot of trash and doing a lot of occupational safety, like floor markings and, signage and eye wash stations and stuff like this that it should be there. So we're addressing that. It's all really low budget stuff. It's gonna come out of the building maintenance line item. We don't need to request any additional funding from anybody to do it, and we have to do it. We know about it, we gotta do it. So I'm focusing on that. Part of that is I wanna make the station a little more livable for people. So, that involves exterior washing, and it needs some interior paint. Because it's just showing some age.
Sure.
So we're looking into ways to get that low cost to cheap through a couple programs out there. Hopefully those pan out. If they don't, then we'll have another talk.
Yeah.
But that's the goal. On top of that, there's the station alerting system that I went to Finance Committee. This was a capital project where $30,000 of retained earnings was taken aside and put towards the station alerting system. That is yet to materialize. I still want it. So what happened with that was the company who gives the product that we want kind of fell off the map for a little bit, just because of workload. That's calmed down, we're back in, so we're gonna have that conversation. If they can't deliver on what we want, then I will go back to Finance Committee, we'll return that $30,000 back to the general fund, and we'll call it a wash. I hope not, because it would really enhance our response capability. So that's an ongoing thing, just a quick update. I don't think I have anything else about the station. We need
I
to,
do.
what's that?
Well, I mean, we do need to put a group together and start looking at another bay and, in addition on that building eventually.
So we need 3 additional lanes, not
Yeah.
one.
Well,
And-
exactly, some
yeah.
expansion of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. Our biggest problems are garage space, storage space. We don't have an operating shower right now.
Right.
We don't have training space.
Mhm. It was too small when it was built, but we were grateful for it, so, and we always knew we would need to expand. So I just think at some point we really gotta get that together. We've been putting rent money aside and, you know.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to have that discussion. We really need it.
I think so. I think we can go like 90 degrees, right? Just kind of off that back side.
There's plenty of room.
Yeah, I think so. I know it's wet there, but we could find a way.
Yeah, there's always a way. All right, does anybody have anything else to address under old business? Does anybody have any new business? They'd like to raise?
No, you were.
There is one other thing, I'm sorry. My residency came up, and it's the reason that the select board is here today.
Yeah.
So, for the record, I still live in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I am commuting.
What's that?
Worcester, you can say it. And I would love to not be commuting, but I am. Nothing has changed here. I feel a little priced out of this community currently, and we'll see which direction that goes. So for the world to hear, yes, I am not in line with one of the provisions of my employment contract, which is I'm supposed to have moved within 15 miles of our station within 1 year of my appointment. That time has come and gone. So there you have it. If the board and the select board would like to have discussion about my employment contract and changing the terms of that, That's great. I would like some closure on this because all I have is uncertainty,
Yeah.
especially from you about this. And so I'd like to know if I have a job or not. So if this is an executive session discussion because it's non-union personnel, which it is, I would hope that we could go that route. I would certainly give that to any employee. Otherwise, what I'd like to do is work my contract. And hopefully things change and I can find a place to move.
Happy to have a discussion outside unless you'd like to have it private. We could do it private.
I mean, I'm gonna state for the record that I wanna extend I wanna extend the housing provision to the end of the contract, because anything shorter than that is basically telling you to go look for a job. And I look at the revenues, I look at the progress we're making on all these fronts, and I just want to give you the opportunity to finish the things that you've started. But that's me. And we've had some discussion on the Deerfield Select Board about a fairly long extension of this housing thing. We just haven't decided on it. And the other thing that I'd like us to do is to close the books on the goals, because every time we don't vote on them, months go by, and then when do we start the clock? When we finalize the goals and we put it a year out, or do we do it in March when we start the discussion, and so 9 months from now? And both of those things are complicated because you're a Deerfield employee. And I would like the select board to make this decision just so it can make the decision with guidance from the booth. So I would like to know what Whately and Sunderland think about both those issues.
So like, is there a sweet spot? Have you looked and said, well, you know what, if I went out 30 miles instead of 15, stuff price-wise gets a little better, or is that just something you haven't even looked at?
I really haven't looked out beyond that.
You know, I'm just, you
Yeah, no,
know,
I appreciate that. I mean, extending it would be helpful, but then it kind of evades the whole point of me living here at all, right? Because now I'm doing a long distance commuting. I'm
Yeah.
already doing it. So, I mean, I'm not gonna.
I mean, because you're what, like 55 miles roughly?
Yeah, exactly.
I go to Worcester a lot. But that's why I was just wondering, you know, was there a happy medium? Is it like, you know, for financially being able to afford something is, you know, looking into Belchertown or, you know, does that,
Nothing against the good people of Belchertown.
well, I know, but it's just a,
Yeah, sure. So,
I'm not sure when that price kind of shifts between Deerfield and Worcester.
yeah, I mean, Worcester's actually far more affordable than Deerfield is.
Yeah.
Deerfield is unobtainable currently. It is, I mean, we don't need to go into my personal finances.
No.
But this area, I believe because it is very limited housing supply and very high demand, has taken an already difficult and expensive housing market and made it even worse.
It's our schools, yeah.
It's
It's because
all
we
kind of-
funded 24-hour EMS.
It's because of our amazing EMS service.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
but that's why I was just wondering, is there, you know, something that makes for you a commute better?
yeah,
Versus-
we're looking. I mean,
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure, you know, if you were, you know, if there was,
I suppose if I found something that was 17 miles, I would probably be like, hey, boo, is this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we-
yeah,
we'd
but
go
no, I
for it.
just
Right.
didn't know if you were like looking even 25 miles.
Oh, yeah, sure, we kind of look over it. I mean, it's really my wife who's the master of this, so.
And I know you have to move family and all too, that's all, you know, it's also difficult. I feel like just extending this provision, it hasn't really affected obviously we're high marks in a lot of different areas of running this, so it hasn't been a detriment. But I think that giving you that flexibility of moving it to the end of your contract gives you that space to know that you're wanted here and that you are an integral part of this organization and community, and gives you time with your family to look at the right place to move and when to move, and it not being this kind of weight on your shoulders. Obviously, there's a time limit, but I just think it's not as, it's one thing if you're a call organization, you need to drop the beer in the truck and run and go and, you know, instantly when the tone goes off. It's not our organization. So it's a vision I had in my mind of a firefighter when I was a kid. You literally smashed the whole case. But it's just a different animal, and I think, you know, if there are other concerns that we have about your appointment or travel and stuff, we can address that, or the WHO can address that, or can bring it to the employer, and we can kind of help to work on any other issues. But I think it would just kind of see where this goes over the next couple of years and get you into a place here in this community without the stress of having to be here in 30 days or a year. What, I don't, to me, it's not as important as long as you are giving it your all and you are an integral part of the community and growing this department and moving us all in the right ways that we see that is happening. But again, I'm just one voice, but not as critical for me.
So I would say from someone from that, I believe that the residency is an important component. And if you're, and the reasons are, is that's how we publish the job. So were there people that didn't apply for the job because there was a residency component? I don't know. No one probably knows that. The second thing is that you're right. We're not a call department. We're a full-time, staffed, career path location. I understand that Deerfield allows for people to work from home, but I don't see how you can have your police chief working from home. I don't see how you can have an EMS director living in Worcester responding, you know, working from home, and something happening, and he's an hour and a half at least away. So if you're considering it, then I would say there has to be some changes made. One is that there's no work from home, because I think it's a full-time position. If you're 15 miles away, something happens, you can be here in a relatively short time. Hour and a half is too long.
But
Again, that,
yeah,
this is my,
yeah, it's fine.
and that's what you guys have to,
Yep.
you guys have to make. So, I mean, and that's a critical thing to me.
I
understand, but I don't know if you offer to your police chief and your highway department
Yeah.
that they work from home.
It's a different job, but I think
EMS is
Yeah.
absolutely.
it's a different job. It being a director of EMS versus kind of being scheduled to be out there. Like, there's no issue where he's got to be here in 15 minutes for
Yeah, actually, there is. Trevor, if I could, there was a case not too long ago where it was during the day shift, and only one, the ambulance was out on a call. There was one ambulance and one paramedic at the station, and that person couldn't handle the call by itself. If the chief was here,
Right. No,
he could jumped in that ambulance and made the call.
I agree. I think like if
Well,
you're-
then you
well,
agree,
well,
then
that's
you
a-
can't say what you
What I'm
said.
saying is that that's a rare occurrence, I think.
No.
And it's, and.
You just had a guy tonight talk about it.
Yeah, again, a rare occurrence.
I just want clarification on your point, just to interject here. Your point is if there's only one paramedic at the station and nobody else, and they
You
can't
should be
handle
there.
it, we don't staff like that. That doesn't happen.
So if I can bring documentation, you will say here that happened, right?
We have in the past had situations where we had a single EMT. We've hoped to really change this. I no longer staff single providers.
But it has happened.
No, it has happened.
Thank you. It has happened, and that's what, and you just said it didn't happen, chief.
No, we're doing our best to avoid that from happening.
So my statement's not incorrect. It has happened, and you weren't here, and there was one person here.
I
and you
can't
had
be
been
here
you could've
24/7,
responded.
365.
I would say
This
that
idea-
I would definitely say that there's no work from home because of just what the chief said.
I wanna-
It's possible there could be one
I just
person.
want to interject, I don't work from home.
Right.
Just to be clear about this, work from home is not part of what I do. So, I'm here throughout the week, I commute, I take vacation and personal days just like any other member of the department, and I use that time if I have obligations that necessitate it. Otherwise, I am here. I do not work from home. So if you want to offer work from home, that discussion has not come up, but it has not come up. I work from home when I get home from work every night of the week. I work from home on a day when I'm sick and I shouldn't be at work. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, what I do with this job 7 days a week is work. I don't know where this idea comes from that the chief is never there, the chief doesn't like spare me. This is all I do. All right, my family suffers for this, and I don't eliminate that. It's nonsense. That's that. You had a question, Bob?
No, I was just trying to stop everybody before they kept going. You were talking about executive session, and I thought maybe it'd be a good idea just to put this into an executive session where the discussion can be freely done and we're not.
That would be
it's
a
not
courtesy
publicized.
that I would have given any one of my employees. But thanks.
If you want to, happy to do that. Schedule another time or do it now.
We're here now.
Doesn't it have to be noticed?
Yeah. Subject to all the notifications, yes, and it has to be qualified under the rules for.
Right, I think it's qualified, but I don't think we can do it now because it wasn't noticed.
Correct.
Right.
All right, well, I guess that's to be revisited then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one other new business item,
Okay.
which is I would like to, on that special town meeting warrant, I would like to include another capital purchase item for a simulation trainer. It's $11,000, unfortunately. So we just went over. We need a training mannequin that can actually give feedback, that can bleed, that we can start IVs on, that we can drill, that we can intubate, that we can do all these things on, that we can do pit crew training on, that we can use and these are wireless and remote and they're wonderful. And it's a real game changer for our training, that adds a lot. Our only current training equipment is a prehistoric intubation mannequin that's really torn up and disgusting.
So I think you just need a capital request, right, to go over that and
I'm just looking to get the booth to support that so that
Support
when
request.
I go to capital, it has the booth's
I
blessing.
think anything that helps
So,
that.
it's gonna be a weird question, but, and I can never word stuff the right way, but if we weren't having this special town meeting, would you ask us to have a special town meeting to purchase this?
I would for the ambulance and I would for this one too.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve. Is $11,000 a good number, or can we have a quote?
$11,272.
Does that include everything?
Yes, and shipping.
And, Yeah, up to 12.
I'll make a motion that we approve up to $15,000 for a training mannequin and all associated costs and supplies.
Right.
So that you can get started and have what you need.
Second.
We'll give it to Fred.
What a night.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. Aye. Unanimous?
Yep.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Make our,
yeah, I think blood and stuff for it must be
Yeah.
expensive.
Any other business tonight?
Tim, when we schedule executive session, we get the goals done as well?
Yeah, I mean, we gotta get it all done, because it's.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I
At
ask
this
you,
rate, we're gonna be at the end of this contract
Right.
before we approve it.
can we re-forward those so that we've all got them ahead of that meeting? And if there's
Sure.
any feedback that needs to come back, can we direct it back to you?
I would like to revisit that over this next week. Most of the goals that I put on there, I'm already attending to.
Yeah, we got new stuff.
So it makes sense to revise that.
Okay.
So I will get to the boo, and the select board something next week.
You should get a head start on your next set.
My next set of what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the select board.
Second,
All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Chuck McDaniel, aye. Thank you.
Entertain a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the Board of Oversight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.